Landslide by Fleetwood Mac, and also two really common chord progressions with a picking pattern that is probably one of the most useful ones you can do, and is just one of the two or three core Travis picking patterns that we like to learn as beginners. And you can, this is just a really useful one that you can use in a lot of songs. And it goes like this. So I've got capo 3, like Lindsay does. It's not, you'll see some of this stuff he does on some of those live recordings from that reunion concert. But you start with the C, and you do a 5, 3, 4, 2 twice, minus the last note most of the time. So it's a 5, 3, 4, 2, 5, 3, 4. I'll talk about this chord in a minute. 5, 3, 4, 2, 5, 3, 4. That's what we're going to get to in a second there. So that one is the C, the G over B, same pattern. Now you notice the way I play that G over B. For this G over B, you can, and it sounds nice, sounds fine to do the open B string, but I don't believe he does. And it's actually almost as easy to do it this way. Whenever I play a G over B, I almost always will fret that D note relative to the capo, that 3rd fret B string note, and you get that note ringing out like that. And it's just another way to think about that chord voicing. Because this is, you could go, sounds beautiful. And it's usually pretty easy to get that B down there. So I just encourage everybody to be thinking about different chord voicings anyway, and to feel free to do one or the other, because you could, the point for some people is just, is this good enough for me to sing over, and that's usually the thing. I just happen to like this one with the 2nd finger and the pinky there. But also you notice the advantage to that. That pinky is hanging right where you're about to put it. And that's one of the things that will make that, like that. You've got the fingers are not traveling far from the C, nor are they traveling very far from the A minor, of course, because that A minor 7, because same thing. And now he gets elaborate when he gets further in there. It's just his arrangement, that live arrangement is beautiful. So that's it. And you can play that one all day, but FYI for the national number people, that's a 1 chord, a 5 over the 7, G over B, 5 over 7 in this, if you're thinking about this first part in the key of C, which you should. A minor 7, right, is the 1, 5 over 7, 6 minor 7. And the real fun, I think, for this one, it's fun to teach this song because of this reason too. When they key change, when they modulate, you get this little D over F sharp here. And here's the way, that's the way I like to play that one. I learned that one when I was doing classical guitar stuff way back when. And I put my 2nd finger there, that is 6th string, 2nd fret. 3rd finger is on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Pinky is on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. And that works because I play this, and it's in there somewhere. He goes from this D to D7, and I may have picked this up in another song, but. And you don't need to worry about the 1st string if you're not going to pick that string. And that's another thing about this that's important. So what we do when we do this next chord progression, we go to the G. But when you switch to that chord progression, the first time you do that, I do the pinches and things because that was how I dressed that song up when I was performing it live. But so you're playing a 6. It's the same pattern. You basically play the same pattern you did with the C, but you're going 6, 3, 4, 2. Instead of 5, 3, 4, 2 on the C, you do 6, 4, 2, 6, 3, 4, 2, 6, 3, 4, 2, 6, 3, 4, 2. And because I've been playing and singing at the same time. So you can just go E minor. If you want to, you can add the pinky for the E minor 7 on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. Wrong thumb pick today. I might pause that. Let me do this one. This is one of those Dunlops, which is fine, but this one's a little bitty. I'm gonna get a little bitty one here. I'm getting older too. Like that. So that the two main things with all those is that those you can dress those picking patterns up for as long as you play the song. But the 6, 3, 4, 2, 6, 3, 4, 2, or 6, 3, 4, 2, 6, 3, 4, depending on which of those you prefer, is what you do on the G, D over F sharp, E minor. And if you choose to practice that chord change the same way you would practice the first chord change, then you got this 6, 3, 4, 2. And you go back to the 5 over 7 again. So 1, 5 over the 7. Because you count the G from the 1 when you key change like that. I do anyway. And I think that when you do the D7 over F sharp, you're very much pointing towards the G as the 1 chord. So that's a little modulation that they do. And that D over F sharp is fine, but that D7 over F sharp is the one that really points back towards the G, so it really gives you a real hard, firm modulation to G as the 1 relative to the capo. Back to the next verse. So that's verse and chorus to Landslide in an arrangement that suits whatever pattern you have. If you have anything on that one, which I call the Lindsay, when you drop that last 8th note off, I end up calling that the Lindsay when I'm teaching that to people because this song is so influential and so beautiful. So beautiful. The live version is just wonderful. Okay, so this is the chord change that leads us to the D over F sharp and the D7 over F sharp, and that modulation in the chorus, that little bit right there. But what you're doing, there's a couple ways you could do that. You could take the A minor 7 and just do the D over F sharp, or you could do the, I pinched that one, but it's really more important to go get the A minor to the D over F sharp first. So you, starting from the A minor 7, which is, the A minor 7 is the C chord without the 3rd finger, 2nd finger, 4th string, 2nd fret, 1st finger, 2nd string, 1st fret. So what happens when you go from this A minor 7, One way to do it that I recommend first is take your second finger, go to the 6th string 2nd fret, and at any point here you can just lift that first finger off, or you can keep your first finger there because it is already where it needs to be for the D7 over F sharp that you might choose to play later. So let's take a look at that. If you choose to do that, first finger there, second finger to the 6th string 2nd fret, third finger to string 3, fret 2, pinky finger to string 2, fret 3. Now, if anybody's wondering about some technical things here, I've got an arch going on. I've got almost no space between the palm of my hand and the bottom of the guitar neck, which you might hear from classical type guitar players is a technical issue. I don't worry about that. I don't tell people to worry about that. Sometimes it works because the arch with the fingers is important and it keeps your wrist straighter if you can do that for some people, for some hands. And all hands are different. You got to figure out how to use your hands. Don't worry about somebody else's. So back to A minor 7. Second finger to string 2. Second finger to string 6, fret 2. Third finger to string 3, fret 2. Pinky to string 2, fret 3. I'm not worried about first string. I'm not picking it, so I'm not worried about even putting a finger on there. Now I'm doing that pinch that we do later, but you can also do. And that's the way if you're doing the 6, 3, 4, 2. And watch this. One more time, A minor 7. Second finger to string 6, fret 2. Third finger to string 3, fret 2. Pinky to string 2, fret 3. Pause and rewind this section if you need to. And then I'm going to go to the G chord with my second finger. Now there's just different, you have different options there, but rather than try to get up there with the third finger, I'm just going to go boom like that. And I don't need any other fingers. Finger 2, string 6, fret 3 for that G chord. And if you're doing a 6, 3, 4, 2, you need no other fingers for that to happen. That's one of the neat little, back to D over F sharp, and then you bring the second finger into the 5th string, third finger comes up to the 4th string, all in the 2nd fret above the capo, and now there's your E minor. You could put a pinky back on the 2nd string, 3rd fret, and that's an E minor 7. And you're going to use these things as long as you play guitar. You could just do that. That sounds pretty. And then you go straight from this to C. Back to the verse for that one. That's a little slow breakdown of that. Now that, you could spend a ton of time on that, and that would be all time well spent. There's no way you could do that too much, because those are chord changes you'll play for as long as you play, and you'll do different things with them for as long as you play, and it's just a real nice way to pass the time too, even if you're not playing Landslide, you know. So there's that. Also, I did want to point out that at this point, where did Carly put Carly right over there? Yeah, that's where she went.